Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thank you for joining me today. I am going to do some more work on the black and white improv quilt, and I want to use just strips and rectangle kinds of things today. I've got black and white, and then all this is coming from leftovers and stash, and then a strip of a diagonal black and white stripe because, you know, I like to put that in when I can. I may or may not put any turquoise in this piece. I don't know. Don't know what size it's going to be. Maybe just a little bit in bob. Heads up, I am experiencing some brain fog today. So I don't know how long this is going to be or what the results are going to be, but that's always true, of course. But if you are looking for some earth-shattering, wonderful, oh my gosh, here's what you can do with improv, this is probably not the week to be watching this. So I will forgive you if you move on. Hopefully the creative part of my brain is not too foggy. So all I'm going to do, I have one strip of white cut here, and I'm thinking of a very, I just want to say architectural, but with architecture you never know, just some vertical kind of thing. Now I am becoming aware that I'm doing a lot of vertical things. So I'll also want to introduce some horizontal in it, maybe some diagonals, not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. And just see what the combination is like. My thought is to start out with some strips. And I don't have very many long strips here, so I don't know how this is going to go. But there's a couple of white strips. Let's do some black here, and these will be varying widths, but I'm thinking still pretty narrow. In fact, those are going to be very narrow. I don't know what I was thinking. That is a pretty narrow cut, and that's exactly what I'm doing again. Like I said, got some brain fog going on today, and there's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine. I don't have COVID brain fog or anything. I'm just not very with it today. So I'm thinking that I might do strips kind of like that and then have some intersecting strips. And I don't know exactly how this is going to go, but I just want not a grid, maybe an off grid, something that isn't really grid-like, sort of like the streets in the city I live in, which was built on bluffs, and you know, you go straight up and then you have to turn around and come straight down because that's the end of the road. So it's hard to do gridded streets. Now, I'm going to cut some wider of the black strips. Maybe I am. And I can make them narrower. Well, that was just, this shows you what kind of brain fog I'm in. And it apparently is pretty long lasting because I took a bag class, a buy any bag class. And I've made a lot of buy any bags. Was a great instructor, thanks Teresa. But I could not cut to save my soul. I've been sewing for probably about 65 years, and I've been quilting for more than 50, and I could not cut a straight line to save my soul. So it apparently is a lingering brain fog. All right. I don't know. I think I want some more, say another black strip cutting across here. And of course, I can always add white strips onto the end of black. Now, ordinarily this kind of thing, I would be thinking about, okay, what do I have to sew first in order to intersect there and do all of that? And I just don't know if I can do that today. I'm not kidding you. I am in a brain fog of epic proportions. Now, so let me take a minute and clean this up. It's very distracting. I'm starting to build something here, and it may end up not being like this at all because, you know, brain fog. Maybe I ought to call this quilt brain fog. That's a thought. Now, as I'm looking at this, it's okay. Don't dislike it. Not wild about it. There'll be some of this going in somewhere. Probably a pretty narrow strip there, though. I'm almost thinking I want something really narrow in the middle of these, which means, or in the middle of something, like a very narrow black strip. But then these strips would have to be wider to begin with because I'm taking a 1/2 inch off the middle of this, and then there's going to be a 1/4 inch on either side. And I could make up for it with the width of the strip that I put in here, but I want a very narrow strip. So I'm going to be cutting a reasonably wide strip here, and I can always trim off the sides if it's wider than I want it to be in the end. And then this does not have to be in the middle, but I want to make sure I have enough room for seams all around. Put that in there, and then there will be a very tiny black strip in there, or perhaps not tiny but narrow, you know what I mean. Maybe something really narrow in between there to add a little something to it. And that maybe could go up there. I'm just exploring options here. This may not be where we end up. And obviously some white. This is a little hard to visualize because, of course, there will be seams taken off here. So I think I'm going to start just putting this together. And I already know that one of the things that I have to do is add some white onto that, and I probably also need to add some white onto those so I can intersect them, bisect them at some point. So you kind of see where I'm going. I'm going to try piecing some of these together. It may not look the same when I get finished, but they will be narrower pieces, so it will be easier for me to visualize where I want to go from here. This is how I progressed so far. Still a lot to do, but I've been changing my mind along the way, as you do with improv. And this, what was left from this, there was a bit at the end of the strip, so I'm going to put that here. I think this is going to, when it's cut off, this piece is going to appear somewhere else, so I'll move it. For one thing, this is just 2 of the stripes, so I'll want a 3rd somewhere. Now, this is the point where I can start to introduce some grays in there if I want to, and maybe a little bit of turquoise if I want to. And I maybe want to do a bit of grays. And I'm also thinking that I might want this in a, almost 4 corners kind of way in the overall quilt. But I haven't looked at the other pieces recently enough to think about whether or not that would work. So this could be a way to sort of tie everything together into one piece. So a cohesive piece. That remains to be seen. We know from the Alice quilt everything could change in a millisecond. Now I'm thinking about, so these pieces are together. Most of them are not. This, I don't know, I may want it to be thinner. I think I do want some thinner pieces in the middle. It needs to have some weight to it, but I don't want it to be an overwhelming weight. This is just one piece of the whole, and not a very large piece of that. So I have an opportunity to, I want the gray to go next to black so that it can be a sort of a gradual thing. So a dark gray, maybe a couple of grays, narrow strips along here before I put it with that white. And I'm not sure that I am ready to sew it to this white, because I think I want a little piece of something up here. Or maybe I do want to put that there, and then I want a little piece of something, because this is on this side, that I could balance it out with something that starts like here and goes over to there. And maybe I won't end up doing that at all. It's very hard to tell with me. But that's the fun of improv for me is, let me try this. And it changes everything. And sometimes I decide I want to tear something out or not use a piece in that particular quilt. But it almost always is adding some interest. So my eye knows that, I'm kind of bored with it. You got a little bit of thing going on there, but I'm a little bit bored with it. And I know these need to be narrower. They will be narrower. So I'm going to try some things here. And then I may just introduce a tiny bit of the turquoise, say, when I go across here. I don't know. I'll play with it. I will just play with it. I'll try to remember to take some photos as I go. I'll talk through little bits of things, but I don't think you want to listen to me come back every 5 seconds and show you, here's another seam I did. So I will try to just do some photos in between. It will probably help me to remember what I think I'm going to do. So let me add some grays in here. And then I want to end with probably some white or some kind of point where I can cut it to a size or to fit in somewhere. I may end up having to add something on. In fact, that's probably what's going to happen, to add something on, maybe put a curve here that will integrate it with the rest of the quilt. I don't know. I probably should just do a piece till I like it, and then I can figure out what to do with it. If you saw any of my Alice when I was putting her together, you'll see what I mean. Sometimes I have to add in transition pieces so that it can fit with another piece. And I'm probably going to have to do that with this too. So I will just create a smallish piece that I like, and then I'll create some more that kind of look like that for the rest of the quilt. Not all of that today. I just want to do this piece today. I decided to break this up so it's not just this continuous set of columns right next to each other. And while I was fishing out to get the next lighter shade of gray, I found this piece, and a curve is just too hard to pass up. It just is. So I know this is going to be all straight pieces, but life happens in my world. So I think this may turn out to be a little narrower in the end, but I think I want that piece in there with white next to it. That may be too much gray. If I make this even narrower, so it's going to basically run into nothing when it gets to the top. I don't want it to be too in your face. So if I do that, maybe I want to put a bit of white down there, and then a white piece there. This might drop down a little, or I might have like two pieces running through there, and then a third one down here. Oh my, this is why improv quilts take so long for me. All right, I'm just going to do it. I want to put some white down here first, then put those together. Do I want some white up here so that I have room to do something else up there later on if I want to. Yes, I'll put some white up here, some white down here. Probably stitch those together, then do the white curve to match this piece. And I would say then we'll stitch it there, but there's no guarantee I'll do that. And here's this piece, clearly oversized up here and on this side. Does mean I can pull this white strip out because this expanse is going to replace that. But this is too wide. In another part of the, oh, is it too wide? Ooh. I'm kind of liking this stopping point here. Why do I like that? I don't know why I like that. It's very odd. What happens if I turn this under and do that? Is that better? Pardon my trembling phone here, camera here. It is wondering what the heck I'm talking about. If I move that down further, that's better. Do I want this to be gray instead of black? These are the things that keep me up at night. Not really, but do I want this to go so that the point meets that? Well, it doesn't really matter because that's white as well. I think I am liking it narrower though. You can certainly let me know what you think. I'll have done something with it by the time you have a chance to comment, but I always like to hear your thoughts. And it's a good reminder that this is just how I do improv, how I want it to look. You probably want something completely different, but hopefully it's an example of how it might happen. What if this goes over here instead? Oh, I'm liking that, but I don't think I want this all the way down. I don't want that to meet up with that, for example. Remember I warned that this was probably not going to turn out the way I originally posited. Oh, I do like that better. Doesn't that look like a 4 now? This is, I really like that kind of sleek look. It almost goes with another quilt that I'm working on. But I definitely do not want this to go down here so that it's just across from that. I do like that the diagonals are going in different directions. It's probably neither here nor there. Like that little bit up here. I may have to sit and ponder a little bit. I do know I don't want this one to be so long. I think I will, however, put these pieces together, and then that will kind of lock me in so I'm not forever changing things and never get this thing finished. So I'm going to put these two pieces together. So I'm going to add some more, a little bit of black up there, probably, am I? Or a little more white up there. Or I'm going to move this up and then add some, I'm not sure I want to add more white up there, but you know, why not? It'll give me more options. So I will add some white up there, the black here, then sew these two strips together, and then we'll see how we feel about those. But I'm feeling really good about that. That serendipity of pulling out that gray leftover from some other curve I did, and it just was perfect. It's the good thing about improv. This is where I'm at the moment, and it's probably going to be where I leave it for this video because it's about 3 hours past lunchtime and I'm getting hungry. I like where it is so far. This piece is just in there to test whether or not I want a black strip in between those two pieces. If you saw the photo just before this section of the video, you saw that without the black strip in there, and it was too much white. Can't believe I've said there was too much negative space, but it just looked too blah to me. But I do like this narrow strip of black in there. On this piece, actually this may be upside down. No, it's not. Is it? Doesn't matter. What would it look like if we went the other way? Interesting. Now that's too much of the black and white stripe at the bottom. Not liking that. And this piece I've just put down here because I want to balance out. I want to do 3 pieces of the stripe. It may not end up there in the end. It might be over here somewhere. Not certain yet, but that's a possibility. But I do like that black strip in there. It's definitely better, and I'm just loving this 4. I just love that. There may need to be a little bit more of the turquoise in here, and I think over here will be more of the grays because I need to balance that out a little bit, I think. I want to kind of make sure I'm not making a big huge piece because I don't want big huge pieces anymore. I want smaller pieces that I can add to the larger pieces we have, so there's some contrast of scale in there. So that is it for this time. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think of all this, and I will see you next week, I hope, where we'll continue with this piece, maybe start a new one as well. I hope to see you then. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.